Okay, so coronavirus. I was having this out a little while ago, obviously on Facebook, and so what I was saying was about this thing about how Elon Musk had it wasn't a PCR test, it was the lateral flow test, um, which was obviously my mistake. But the point of what I was going on about here was to understand what the two are and what the two do and what they look for. So obviously I was looking at how it works, and in this bit here was this video on the Abingdon Health website, which will go through, shows you how similar it is to a pregnancy test. You can see your sample goes in, and then at a chemical level, this is obviously what's going on. So the sample will move down the strip, at which point it binds at the correct point, and that's how the line is formed on the test. So that's, just let it show you this last bit here. So again, you can go and watch that yourself. That's on the Abingdon Health website. I just typed in how a lateral flow test works in Google, and that came up. So then obviously there's a couple of pictures here just to show you a basic concept of what it looks. Obviously this isn't actually an image under a microscope, it's a artist rendering, the same as this one, and even simpler version. But the point of what they're saying is the same. You have a spherical shape with the M protein, E proteins on the surface, and S protein, which is the spike protein, coming up from the surface. So like I say, the spike protein, membrane, E proteins, and then obviously in the core you have the nucleoprotein, which has the viral RNA within it. Obviously it's again nucleocapsid, and then nucleocapsid protein. So this is what the PCR test is looking for. The lateral flow test is looking for the spike protein, and the PCR test looks for areas within the genome of the virus, which is, like I say, in the nucleocapsid and the proteins within the RNA within. So this chap says he doesn't think there'll be an issue because with the PCR you pick the most conserved areas of the genome of virus. You don't go for something like the spike region because it changes. So the current PCR we have doesn't even discriminate between the SARS first one and COVID-2, because there's so much conserved between the two that the viruses are 80% the same. So that leads me back to what was the final question here, which was basically about how PCR focuses on the spike protein, specifically looking for changes in its RNA, so blah, blah, blah. Or is it a specific piece of coding found in another variant? I think so. Basically, what I was trying to say here was that if the PCR doesn't even discriminate between the two COVID variants, and very much likely doesn't distinguish between any more variants, any more mutations, then how do we know that the sample that they're looking for isn't found within the original coronavirus sample, the one that is not dangerous to humans, found everywhere in the world, because the obviously there are probably images here where I don't know, probably not going to find it, but you can go on YouTube, Google, all that stuff, and a lot of the labels for these products will say that they do and did clean and deal with COVID variants beforehand. So like I say, the question that I'm really asking is, can the PCR test distinguish between the original strain of COVID and the new ones? So again, it's not really going to show me anything different than what I'm already looking at. Could new variants evade the testing? New strains of the mutation identified by taking samples of the positive patient from the background observations of the genetic code. As such, the chances of an emergent COVID variant evading tests is highly unlikely. So like I say, this is within the PCR one, not the lateral flow, because the lateral flow detects the spike protein, and that changes with every variant of the disease. But as you have a sample, you should be able to detect it, because like they say, the 80% the same between the two. So yeah, like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if people are getting vaccinated when the only response that they're having is a positive response to what is a dormant, not dangerous strain of the virus, which has been around for 500,000 years. Was it? So the most common ancestor of it was, like 10,000 years ago, and then 55 million years. So I'm pretty sure I saw something that said it. The very similar versions have gone back 500,000 years or so. So, like I say, 55 million years is again a ridiculous amount of time for the virus to have been around, coexisting with humans, never affected humans until a year, 2 years ago, and now it is affecting humans. It's mutating violently with multiple strains, probably more strains on the way, and the PCR test is designed to look for all variants of the coronavirus, not just one strain. So I am pretty sure it is picking up positive responses to the original virus, and then people are getting vaccinated for something that it's not necessary for. This isn't me saying, that there was no virus. That's not how it works. That's kind of the trick to it. The joke to it is that there is a virus. You can't ignore the fact that this is going on. People are dying, but there is a conspiracy involved in it, and it is my belief, and along with a lot of people's beliefs, that this virus was man-made. It was created. It was manipulated in a laboratory, and there are many laboratories across the planet that are currently testing with dangerous viruses. So it's not unlikely that a lab very similar to those, the sample got out, contaminated. I'm not specifically going to put blame on China and the Wuhan market for where we were told it came from, because again, that's not what I believe. But like I say, I think this is something that was pre-planned, and I think you should be doing everything you can do to educate yourself as to this subject, how it works. Because to begin with, obviously I didn't know a lot of this stuff, and just understanding it, the knowledge, I'm less fearful of what it is. So yeah, I know there's a lot of people troubled by this kind of stuff at the minute, so really just keep an eye on your mental health throughout what's going on. And just look for those small comforts that we are slowly getting back. Obviously being in contact with people again, pubs, clubs, all that stuff. Still be safe, cautious, because like I say, there is a virus and a disease about at the minute. So you do still have to be careful. But yeah, just keep an eye on yourselves, those closest to you. Keep educating yourself, keep educating those around you, and you'll probably hear from me again soon. Safe.